Welcome to LinesToGo installation videos. Today we will be replacing fuel lines on a 1987 Jeep Grand Wagoneer using LinesToGo part number SS1701. While this particular installation is being performed on a 1987 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, this set of lines will also fit the following year, make, and models as shown on your screen now. LinesToGo lines are made using original equipment end forms and fittings that are CNC bent for an easy and precise installation. We have also upgraded to stainless steel braided Teflon hoses for rust protection and to prevent surface fouling. These have an unlimited shelf life and anti-static PTFE liner. This set of LinesToGo lines are made using 304L stainless steel for rust resistance that exceeds OEM standards. Tech tip: disconnect the battery before working on a vehicle to reduce the risk of shorting out the battery on tools or lines. LinesToGo lines are made with a sectional design for easier installation. We also use color-coded unions on our sectioned lines. Just match the colors of the connections. Tools required: 3/8, 7/16, 1/2 inch, and 9/16 sockets and ratchet, 7/16, 1/2 inch, and 9/16 wrenches, pliers and cutting pliers, flat blade screwdriver, drain pan, jack and jack stands. The level of difficulty for this installation is considered to be medium. Start by disconnecting the negative battery terminal using a 1/2 inch wrench. At the driver's side of the engine bay, use a 1/2 inch socket to remove the bolt that secures both fuel lines at the top of the frame rail. At the passenger side of the engine bay, locate the charcoal canister behind the battery. Locate the hose that is second from the driver's side and follow it back to the Y union. Remove the two rearward hoses from the Y union. Next, we will need to remove the fuel tank. Use a 1/2 inch socket to remove the two nuts that secure the cover at the rear of the fuel tank and remove the cover. Use a flat blade screwdriver to loosen the clamps that secure the fuel filler hoses. Remove the two fuel filler hoses from the fuel tank. Disconnect the two bullet-style electrical connectors that go to the sending unit at the rear of the tank. Fold up the rear seat and lift the carpet underneath it. Remove the access hatch using a screwdriver. Remove the clamps that secure the three hoses underneath the access hatch. If these clamps are the style shown, cut them using a pair of cutting pliers. Disconnect the three hoses inside of the access hatch. Place a support underneath the fuel tank. Use a 1/2 inch socket and wrench to remove the two bolts at the rear of the fuel tank. Use a 9/16 socket and wrench to remove the bolts along the driver's side of the fuel tank. Use a 7/16 socket and wrench to remove the forwardmost bolt at the passenger side rear of the fuel tank. There is no need to remove the rear bolt. Start to lower the fuel tank. Once the tank is lowered enough, remove the second vent hose at the front of the fuel tank. Continue to lower the fuel tank and remove it from underneath the vehicle. Underneath the vehicle, remove the electrical connector from the proportioning valve. Use a 1/2 inch socket to remove the clips that secure the fuel lines and the rear brake line along the driver's side of the frame rail. At the front of the vehicle, use a flat blade screwdriver to loosen the clamps on the supply and return lines. Remove the rubber hoses from the lines. Remove the supply and return fuel lines from along the driver's side frame rail. Use a 1/2 inch socket and wrench to remove the two bolts that secure the rear section of the rear fuel vapor line and remove the clips from the line. Remove the rubber vent hose from the top of the transfer case. Use a 3/8 socket to remove the bolts that secure the vent lines to the transfer case. Use a pair of cutting pliers to cut the rubber hose that connects the two sections of the rear fuel vapor line and remove the rear section of the rear fuel vapor line from the vehicle. Remove the 3 remaining lines from the vehicle. Remove the metal clips that secure the lines together. To begin the installation of your new stainless steel LinesToGo fuel lines, start by installing the forward vapor line labeled VL1701C into position, routing the front hose over the top of the engine. Use a 3/8 socket to secure the rear of the line to the transfer case. Connect the front hose to one side of the Y connection at the engine. Next, install the forward section of the rear LinesToGo fuel vapor line labeled VL1701A into position, routing the front hose over the top of the engine. Use a 3/8 socket to secure the line to the transfer case. Connect the front hose to the other side of the Y connection at the engine. Secure the two lines together using the S-shaped clips removed from the original lines. Next, install the rear section of the rear LinesToGo fuel vapor line labeled VL1701B into position. Secure the rear of the line by replacing the two clips using a 1/2-inch socket and wrench. Connect the front and rear sections of the rear vapor line using the supplied hose, noting the LinesToGo color-coded connection. Next, install the LinesToGo transfer case vent line labeled TCVL1701A into position. Connect the rear hose to the top of the transfer case. Connect the line to the other forward lines using the C-shaped clips removed earlier. Next, on the driver's side of the vehicle, install the forward section of the supply line labeled SL1701A into position. Next, install the rear section of the supply line labeled SL1701B into position. Connect the two sections of the supply line using the supplied hose, noting the LinesToGo color-coded connection. Next, install the forward section of the return line labeled RL1701A into position. Next, install the rear section of the LinesToGo return line labeled RL1701B into position. Connect the two sections of the return line using the supplied hose, noting the LinesToGo color-coded connection. Secure the lines to the driver's side frame rail using a 1/2-inch socket. Replace the clips at the front of the supply and return lines using a 1/2-inch socket. Connect the supply and return hoses from the engine to the lines and secure the clamps using a flat blade screwdriver. Reconnect the electrical connector at the proportioning valve. Next, we will replace the fuel tank. Make sure that the 3 hoses are placed through the access hole so once the tank is in position, you can access them from the top. Place the fuel tank underneath the vehicle and begin to raise it into position. Once the tank is high enough, connect the front vapor hose and secure the supplied clamp using a flat blade screwdriver. Continue to raise the tank into position. While raising the fuel tank, make sure that the wiring harness at the front of the tank is in the correct position. Replace the bolts along the driver's side of the fuel tank using a 9/16 socket and wrench. Replace the 2 rear bolts using a 1/2-inch socket and wrench. Replace the bolt at the passenger side rear of the fuel tank using a 7/16 socket and wrench. Reconnect the electrical connectors at the rear of the fuel tank. Replace the 2 fuel filler hoses and secure the clamps using a flat blade screwdriver. Replace the metal shield at the rear of the tank and secure it using a 1/2-inch socket. Inside of the vehicle, connect the 3 hoses inside of the access hatch and secure the clamps using a flat blade screwdriver. Replace the access hatch and replace the carpet. Reconnect the negative battery terminal using a 1/2-inch wrench. This concludes the installation of stainless steel fuel lines on a 1987 Jeep Grand Wagoneer using LinesToGo part number SS1701. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or would like to purchase the lines you saw today, please call us at 1-855-781-5992. Email us at info@linestogo.com or check out our website link below. Don't forget to take advantage of our free next day shipping. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button below, and we will see you in our next video.